My mother told me not to come for Christmas, claiming I would embarrass them in front of my sister's upper-class boyfriend. My sister called me a nobody. I decided to show up anyway. They never expected their guest of honor was my new employee. This is where the story truly begins, and you won't want to miss what happens. Make sure you're subscribed to see it through to the end. We're always curious. Where in the world are you all watching from today? Let us know in the comments. The call came on a Tuesday, which was in itself an insult. It was a cold, miserable evening, the kind where the rain can't decide if it wants to be sleep, and the wind sounds like it's personally offended by your windows. I was just starting to feel human again. I'd been laid flat by the worst flu of my adult life, a vicious, fever-drenched ordeal that had lasted 2 full weeks. My muscles still ached. My head felt packed with cotton, and my apartment was a testament to survival. Mugs of cold tea, empty tissue boxes, and a weighted blanket I'd barely emerged from. I was looking at my calendar, planning my flight home for Christmas, which was only 10 days away. I was actually looking forward to it. I'd been working 80-hour weeks for months, launching a new sustainable tech initiative at my firm. And the idea of 2 weeks in my childhood home, even with my family's quirks, sounded like a reprieve. I wanted my mom's bad casseroles and my dad's predictable stories. My phone lit up on the coffee table. It wasn't just one name. It was a group video call. Mom, Dad, Claire. A prickle of anxiety, sharp and familiar, cut through the flu fog. A group call was never good. It was for interventions. It was for announcements. It was for ambushes. I swiped to answer, forcing a smile onto my face. Hi, everyone. I was just Scarlett. My mother's Margaret's voice was thin, tight. She wasn't smiling. She was sitting on the formal living room sofa, the one nobody was ever allowed to sit on. My father, Richard, was beside her, looking stiffly at a spot just past the camera. My younger sister, Claire, was lounging in the armchair, phone in hand, looking bored. Mom, is everything okay? My voice sounded raspy from the flu. Scarlett, dear, Mom began, using the tone that always preceded bad news. We need to talk about Christmas. I pulled the blanket tighter. Okay, what's wrong? Did something happen? My father cleared his throat, still not looking at me. Your mother and we've been talking, and with Claire's situation, we've decided it's just not a good year for you to come home. The words were so cold, so sterile, that they didn't compute. Not come home? What do you mean? I've already got my presents wrapped. My sister Claire let out an exasperated sigh loud enough for the microphone to catch. Oh, Mom, just tell her. Stop trying to be nice about it. She sat up, her perfectly made-up face filling her little video window. Look, Scarlett, I'm bringing my new boyfriend, Julian, home. And he's important. I blinked, the cotton in my head feeling denser. Important. Okay, that's great, Claire. I'm looking forward to meeting him. No, you don't understand. Claire snapped, her voice dripping with the kind of condescension she'd perfected in high school. He's actually important. He's not like, well, anyone you know. My father finally spoke up, his voice gruff and uncomfortable. He's from a different class, Scarlett. A different world. His family is very prominent. We don't want to embarrass ourselves. The room tilted. The sleet hammered against the glass. Embarrass yourselves? My voice was barely a whisper. What does that have to do with me? This time it was Claire who delivered the final precise strike. She sneered, a perfect ugly twist of her lips. Julian is used to a certain caliber of person. Scarlett. He moves in circles. You just wouldn't understand. He doesn't like being around. Well, nobody's. The word hung in the air, echoing in the sterile silence of my apartment. Nobody. And let's be honest, Claire continued, warming to her topic. Your little office job is just sad. We don't want him asking what you do and have to make something up. It's just easier if you're not here. I looked to my mother. Her face was a mask of strained politeness. It's just for this 1 year, dear, she said, her voice bright and brittle. This is very important for Claire. Julian could be the one. We're having him for the entire Christmas week, and we just want everything to be perfect. You understand? I looked at my father. He was inspecting his fingernails. I couldn't breathe. Scarlett Vance, 36 years old, founder and CEO of Terra Global Strategies, a firm that consulted on sustainable technology for half the Fortune 100, was a nobody. I who had quietly paid off the mortgage on the very house they were sitting in. I who had funded Claire's vlogging career for 3 years, including the new camera, the apartment, and the car. I who subsidized my parents' comfortable early retirement, which they attributed to my father's shrewd investments. I was an embarrassment. My little office job was sad. I see. I managed to say. The flu, the fever, the body aches. None of it compared to the profound icy chill that was spreading from my chest outward. Good, Margaret said, relief flooding her face. I knew you'd understand. You were always the practical one. We'll make it up to you. Maybe. Maybe we can do a dinner in February. Maybe. I said. Great. Well, we have to go. We're picking out a new centerpiece for the table. Julian is used to a very high standard. The call ended. The screen went black. I sat there for a long time listening to the rain and the hollow buzz of the phone. The beautiful, neatly wrapped presents I'd spent weeks picking out were stacked by my door. I felt the fever spiking again, but this was different. The rejection wasn't just a change of plans. It was a verdict. And the betrayal felt far more toxic than the fever I'd just broken. For the first few hours, I was just numb. I curled up under the blanket and stared at the dark city skyline. The pain of the flu had been a physical, understandable thing. This was a deeper sickness. This was a hollowing out. Nobody's a different class. We don't want to embarrass ourselves. The phrases played on a loop, each one a fresh sting. I thought about my life, the one they knew nothing about. I had chosen anonymity. When I founded Terra Global Strategies, I'd done it quietly. I'd built it from my spare bedroom, coding and designing sustainable systems until my fingers were numb. I'd taken the risks, worked the 80-hour weeks, and built an empire. I kept my name off the press releases. I let my COO be the public face. I lived in a comfortable, elegant, but understated apartment. I wore quiet, well-made clothes that Claire would call boring.
Why?
Because I had seen what wealth did to people. And because on some deep childish level, I wanted my family to love me, just Scarlett. The practical one, the boring one. I didn't want them to love us, Vance, CEO. It seemed I had failed on both counts. They didn't love just Scarlett. They were ashamed of her. The next day, the numbness gave way to a cold, simmering anger. I felt stronger. The flu was receding, and this new sharp resolve was taking its place. I had to try one more time. I had to be sure. This couldn't be real. I sent a simple text to my mother. Mom, I don't understand. I can't believe you do this. Please just tell me what's really going on. I watched the phone. The 3 little dots appeared, then vanished. Appeared, then vanished. She was typing, deleting, retyping. Finally, a message came through. Margaret text, Scarlett, you're making this very difficult. You're being selfish. Claire deserves this. Julian is a wonderful man from an excellent family, and this is her one chance to finally be happy. Your father and I support her. Please don't ruin this for her. Elfish. The accusation was so profoundly, spectacularly unjust that I almost laughed. I was being selfish. I who had just last month wired Claire $5,000 for a vlogging trip to Bali that she'd never taken. I who had paid for my father's emergency root canal, all $6,000 of it last spring. I who had never asked for a single thing in return except to be present at Christmas. The coldness of my mother's text, her immediate pivot to painting me as the aggressor, was the final confirmation. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This was a calculated decision. They were trading me for a social upgrade. I sat at my desk, my work laptop open. My inbox was flooded with year-end reports, contracts, and market projections. And then I saw it an email chain from my executive assistant. Subject: Ray, onboarding complete. Julian Rutherford, CFO. My blood went still. Julian. It couldn't be Julian was a common name, but Rutherford from an excellent family. Important. My fingers flew across the keyboard. I opened our secure HR portal. I typed in the name, and there he was. Julian Rutherford, age 37, poached from our biggest competitor, my new high-profile chief financial officer. I had hired him myself. I had spent the last 2 months in grueling negotiations with him, finally landing him with a compensation package that was frankly staggering. He was brilliant. He was a shark. He was without a doubt the most important hire I had made all year. But here was the crucial detail. We had never met in person. My role as the anonymous CEO meant that all high-level interviews were conducted via secure video calls. He knew me only as S. Vance, a powerful, slightly intimidating, and I hoped respected figure who appeared in a professionally lit home office. My background a stark, impressive wall of books and awards. He had never seen me like this, sick, pale, and wrapped in a fuzzy blanket. He had never heard anyone call me Scarlet. My family, my arrogant, foolish, status-obsessed family. They were trying to impress my new CFO. They were uninviting me to impress my own employee. A slow, cold smile spread across my face. The hurt was still there, a deep, heavy stone in my gut. But it was now joined by something else. A sharp, clear, strategic focus. The kind of focus I used when I was about to win a difficult negotiation. They were so worried about my status. They were so desperate to present their own. But they had forgotten one crucial thing. They had no idea who he was. And more importantly, they had no idea who I am. The memory was so clear. It could have been yesterday. It was my 30th birthday. I had just that very morning landed the Terra global contract with the city of Stockholm. It was our first major international deal. It was worth millions. It was the moment I knew my company was going to succeed. I was ecstatic, practically vibrating with adrenaline and joy. I called home, my hands shaking as I dialed, desperate to share the news. My mother, Margaret, picked up. "Oh, hello, Scarlett. Is everything all right?" "Everything is amazing, Mom." "You won't believe what just Scarlett. I can't talk," she cut me off. Her voice a strained whisper. "It's your sister. It's a crisis." My joy evaporated. "Claire, what's wrong? Is she hurt?" "She just got dumped by that lovely boy, Alex. She's heartbroken. Absolutely devastated. She won't come out of her room." My father, Richard, got on the line. "Your sister needs us, Scarlett. This is a real-life problem. That office stuff of yours can wait. We have to focus on what's important." I remember standing in my tiny office, the signed contract on my desk, and feeling about 2 inches tall, my office stuff, my life's work. I canceled the small celebration I had planned with my team. I booked a flight. I spent my 30th birthday on my parents' sofa, listening to Claire sob hysterically over a guy she had been dating for exactly 3 weeks. I ended up taking both Claire and my mother to a luxury spa for a healing weekend. I paid for it. They never asked, not once, what my amazing news had been. That was the dynamic. It had always been the dynamic. Claire was the sparkling one. She was the outgoing one, the charming one. She was also deeply, profoundly insecure and monumentally lazy. She had failed out of 2 different college programs before deciding she was going to be a lifestyle vlogger. Her profession was a carefully curated Instagram feed of her posing with cocktails on beaches or in designer clothes, all funded by her boring sister Varance. My parents enabled her, dazzled by her superficial charm and terrified of her emotional outbursts. I was the serious one, the practical one, the dull one. I was the one who was good with numbers, the one who was so responsible. My reliability had become my curse. I was not a person to them. I was a utility, a safety net, an ATM that never asked questions, and I had let them for years. I had let them. I thought about the last time I'd been home for Thanksgiving. Claire had brought her new vlogging camera, the one I paid for, and was filming everything. "We just have to get the shot. Julian is going to love my content," she trilled. She hadn't mentioned his name then, just my new man. She had turned the camera on me. I was sitting by the fire reading a book on quantum computing. "And here's my sister, Scarlett," she'd announced to her phone. Still single, still reading nerd books. She'd giggled, a high tinkling sound. God, Scarlett, your clothes. Don't you ever buy anything new? You look like you shop at a library. I'd looked down at my outfit. It was a simple dark gray cashmere turtleneck and jeans. The turtleneck alone cost more than her entire fast fashion outfit, but it had no logo. It was quiet,